Welcome to the High School Football Report, sponsored by Showcase Sports. I'm Dan Russman with Kevin Troilo. Kevin, we're going to recap last week's football games. Locally, Hammonton goes down to Williamstown, and the Blue Devils take their first loss, 36-21 loss. A game where Hammonton looked sharp early in the game. Malachi Winters hits Josh Bevan, 8-yard touchdown pass on the opening drive. They go up 7-0. Picks off a pass on Williamstown's first drive, runs that back 42 yards. They're up 14-0, 6 minutes into the game, and you're starting to think, hey, maybe we're going to see what we saw last week
against
against
the Delsey game.
Exactly, but Williamstown fought their way back. They scored a touchdown on a 36-yard run against Joe Early. Had to cut it to 14-8. They got the 2-point conversion on that drive, which you weren't really sure if that was going to play a factor. At the end of the game, it really didn't.
But you never know. Take a chance on one that early.
Absolutely. Second quarter, Hammonton answers right back, and when they go 65 yards, 17-play drive, it's almost all Zach Bernard. He carries the ball 14 times for, I think, 51 or 52 yards on the drive. Scores on a 1 yard, just punches it in. Now they're up 21-8. You're feeling pretty good. Williamstown, a little bit of breakdown in covers. They were able to complete a long pass on a 3rd and 12, which I think the pass covered almost 50 yards, and it set up a touchdown that cut that lead to 21-15 at the half. And then from there, it was pretty much all Williamstown. I mean, they scored on their opening drive in the third quarter to take a 22-21 lead, tacked on another score to make it 29-21. And then from there, Hammonton, a late drive, got inside the 25 with under 2 minutes.
Chance to tie it.
Yeah, chance to tie the game. Josh Bevan was playing quarterback at that point. He rolled out under some pressure, was getting dragged down, and he just kind of lofted one, tried to get it out of bounds. The Stanzione kid for Williamstown picked it off. Looked like he was going to maybe take a knee and just say, okay, we'll run the clock out, but he opted to run, took it all the way back 85 yards for the touchdown. It kind of just broke Hammonton's back at that point. They did get a couple plays off at the end, but they weren't able to complete the pass. I think 2 incompletions ended the game, and so they go home with their first loss. I guess a game where really you kind of got the feeling that Williamstown wore them down a little bit. I mean, that's what Coach Razzo said after the game. He felt like
the deep roster kind of plays in at a
the
point.
depth that Williamstown had, the fact that they were able to kind of be physical and knock some guys around, and I don't want to say that they beat Hammonton up because they didn't. I thought Hammonton held their own. A couple penalties hurt the Blue Devils in this one. They had some pushing and shoving that kind of didn't go their way. I mean, the officials maybe had some quick flags in this one, I thought. But
I will say you gotta give a lot of respect to Williamstown too. Obviously, they're one of the best teams in South Jersey too. But to be down 14-0, 21-8 early against a team that they know pretty much killed the number one team, Delsey, the last week, for them to not roll over and kind of say like, okay, this team is. We're getting shut down right now, and to dominate the second half like that, I think you got to give them a lot of respect.
Yeah, they did. I think neither team gave up in this one. Both teams showed a lot of heart in this game. Both teams, a lot of momentum shifts in this one. Like you said, Hammonton had an early momentum. Williamstown was able to grab it back. Hammonton maybe kind of took it a little bit towards the end, because it really did look like on that last drive they were going to go punch one in.
Have a chance to tie it with the two.
I mean, there's about 2 minutes left, and I'm on the sideline. I'm thinking to myself, this might come down to them having to go for 2 to tie the game.
Yeah, and that's a high-intensity spot.
Yeah, and it turned out, the interception kind of really hurt them there. But, again, a game where I think a lot of teams maybe, when Williamstown did make that comeback, take that lead, and then score another one to kind of put you in a hole late, a lot of teams maybe would have folded up and went home. Hammonton didn't do that. They showed a lot of resiliency in this game. Never gave up. Really, I think it's going to bode well for them down the road, especially this week when they get Timber Creek.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think that really speaks volumes to the team as a whole and Coach Razzo to have the kids kind of not roll over like that and not think like, okay, maybe this is our loss, and still be fighting the whole time.
Yeah. We'll talk about Hammonton's game with Timber Creek in the next segment. But as for the Williamstown loss, a game that didn't have much impact in the West Jersey League, obviously because they're separate divisions. Won't impact Hammonton for the playoffs really, because they pretty much locked up that top seed. Something really bizarre would have to happen for them to not get a top seed in Group 4. Looks like they're probably going to run into maybe like a Highland or somebody in the first round. But for Hammonton, the big game will come this week. It's the last game of that 3-game stretch, that Delsey, Williamstown, Timber Creek stretch, and we'll talk about that in the next segment. We'll move across town now to St. Joe, where they hosted Egg Harbor Township last week, Cape Atlantic League American Conference matchup.
Another huge
Wildcats
win for
come away
them.
with a 47-13 win, like you said. Third straight week where they've scored over 40 points.
None of the games the last 3 weeks have even really been competitive for them.
They've kind of feeding on some of the lesser teams in the Cape Atlantic League. But again, offense really looking very, very good at this point. They're starting to kind of click a little bit. The offensive line, Eddie Testa, Derek Lomax, Mike Masholi, those guys up front, playing very, very well right now. They're paving the way for really a tremendous ground attack for St. Joe. I mean,
yeah, they were 500 yards this week.
More than 500
right?
yards rushing this week.
That's like unheard of. 500 yards on the ground.
A Longhorn, 19 carries, 209 yards. Salamhorn, his brother, had 3 carries for 120. Q Townsville had 85 yards rushing in this one as well, the fullback.
And we've talked about that, I think. Coach Sacco has too, just that since they've got him back and he's kind of been very usable for them.
Absolutely.
They've been able to stray away from that kind of two-headed monster a little bit. I mean, they have 3-4 guys now that can kind of take the ball and do something.
Yeah, getting Townsville at fullback, I think it allows Alamhorn to get back on the wing. It allows Keegan Harvin to play tailback, where I think he's a little more suited for. So you have guys that are now more at their natural positions. Again, the way the line's blocking, I mean, these guys are just, I mean, they're putting up incredible numbers the last few weeks, especially on the ground.
Yeah.
They were able to throw the ball in this one as well. Salam was 5 of 7 for 125 yards, 3 2-touchdown passes. One over the middle of Keegan Harvin, who was wide open. He went 61 yards for a touchdown. Then they had a 16-yard pass to Matt Tucker. He kind of just ran a little out, and they caught him in the corner of the end zone for another score. Offense looking very, very good. Defensively, still a little shaky. The tackling wasn't as good as I think they wanted to be last week. Dante Moore for Egg Harbor Township had some big runs in this one. He scored 2 touchdowns. I think if they can get the defense to kind of get to the level the offense is at, this is going to be a real, real tough team to beat down the stretch here, especially with the playoffs coming up, where St. Joe
probably looking at what number 2 seed.
Right now they're sitting in the 2 spot, and I think that's probably going to hold. Looks like Immaculata is going to be the 1. Which would set up St. Joe. If St. Joe catches a break, maybe they don't see Hudson Catholic, a team that's 7-1 and has 7 shutouts this year. I mean, they lost to Lincoln over the weekend. It was their first loss of the season. Lincoln's ranked 12th in the state, so it kind of gives you. And that game was about a 4-point game, so gives you an indication of the kind of caliber that Hudson Catholic is this year. But for St. Joe, I mean, they just got to keep, I think, doing what they're doing. I mean, they're gonna go down to Ocean City this week, regular season finale. We'll talk about this in the next segment. Probably a good chance for a big win out of the Wildcats. When we come back on High School Football Report, we're going to preview the 2 games this week. Hammonton's hosting Timber Creek on November 6th, and the same night, St. Joe goes down to Ocean City, and we'll talk about those games right after this.
Contact Greg Schenker of Ballsy Law School Realty for all your real estate needs. Call Greg Schenker at area code 609-214-2773. Gazette Print Shop is here for you or your business. Whether you need a logo, posters, mugs, stationery, t-shirts, and much more, they can design it and make it a reality. Gazette Print Shop will help you promote your business and spread your message. Give your marketing a new direction with GPS. Gazette Print Shop. Back pain? See Doc Manny today. Dr. Emmanuel Sanfilippo is a certified chiropractor and sports practitioner. With more than 25 years' experience, he knows what you need to feel like yourself again.
Welcome back to High School Football Report, sponsored by Showcase Sports. And now we're going to talk about Hammonton plays Timber Creek this weekend. A big West Jersey
Another
football
big
league.
game at home.
National Division showdown is going to determine the champion in the National Division. A Hammonton win will give it to them outright. They'll be undefeated in the division. Timber Creek win is going to set up a 3-way tie between these 2 teams in Delsey.
What happens in the case of the 3-way tie?
I think they just share it.
Okay.
I think they would all, get jackets that say, National Division.
It doesn't affect anything pretty much as far as playoff setup.
This game, Timber Creek's only played 7 games so far.
Yeah, they have another game.
Yeah,
after
this game counts for them towards the
think.
playoffs because it's your first 8 games. So for Timber Creek, I think they're sitting at the 4 seed now in Group 4, so they can move up with a win.
Okay.
Probably maybe move up to a 2 spot if they win this game. For Hammonton, I think is about 35 points ahead of I think Bridgeton's the 2nd seed right now. So it looks like Hammonton's pretty much locked into that 1 seed in Group 4.
Okay.
Timber Creek, a team wants to throw the ball. Coach Hinson is got that passing offense. Their quarterback's Devin Leary. He's completed, I think, like about 64% of his passes this year.
Yeah, I mean, last week his number is 16 for 18 for 366 and 3 scores.
Yeah.
They got the Chambers kid, the one who's going to
He's going to Michigan State.
So I mean, they're throwing the ball 18 times, and Lewis, their running back, still at 125 on the ground, 2 scores. They played Morristown, who Hammonton also hammered.
Exactly.
But it's clear that they throw the ball a lot.
Yeah, I mean, Leary's got 16 touchdowns and 4 interceptions this year. You talked about the Lewis kid, Walter Lewis. He's run for more than 600 yards this year. So they do mix it up a little bit. I mean, they're not. Last year, I think Timber Creek was a team that they threw the ball almost every play.
Okay,
This
so they
year-
were
this
like
year they
one-dimensional in the
this-
throwing way.
This
Okay.
year they're mixing the running a little bit more. You talked about the receivers, Chambers, the Archie kids, a very good receiver, Noah Ellison, another one. The three very talented receivers. They're going to run that spread. They're going to go three wide with the one kid in the backfield. Going to put a lot of pressure on Hammonton's secondary this week. Hopefully Mitchell Vitale's back at 100%. They're going to need him. Guys like Isaac Flores, Malachi Winters back there, Victor Solis Mays. They're going to have to play very, very well this week.
Yeah, because they haven't faced a lot of teams that have thrown a lot, so it's going to be kind of a new look for them as far as the game goes.
Kind of as kind of contrasting.
Fire truck
goes by. Kind of contrasting styles here in this game because Hammonton's going to look to probably keep the ball on the ground. They're going to want to eat clock in this one and keep that offense off the field.
I was going to say, it's kind of like that game where you're playing to keep the ball away from them as long as you can.
Exactly. I mean, you look for Zach Bernard to get a lot of carries in this one. If Mitchell Vitale can't play, it looks like Daniel Figueroa may miss this game as well. I think he may have suffered a concussion last week. So if he did, that would be his second one this year, so I would doubt that he'll play. So you're probably going to see Flores in the backfield. You might see a kid like Sean Riker get some carries in this one as well. So you have to see if Hammonton can control the clock. Look for Greg Sylvester, the offensive coordinator, maybe to open it up a little bit. Maybe you'll see that package we've seen a couple times with Josh Bevan at quarterback, where they split Malachi out.
Yeah,
maybe they try to throw the ball a little bit. Josh has a little bit better arm, can get the ball downfield a little bit. But I mean, for Hammonton, I think the biggest concern they're going to have is avoiding big plays. Don't give up big plays at Timber Creek. Don't let Chambers get open downfield. This is a very explosive offense, a team that can kind of score from anywhere on the field. And I think it's going to turn into a shootout. I don't think you want to see it turn into a shootout if you're Hammonton.
Yeah, I think two big things for them too will be, just naturally, emotion-wise, they came off a game last week at Williamstown where they kind of had a chance to win and put that away, and they obviously kind of got pushed around in the second half a little bit. I want to see how they come out and kind of how they look early on with that. I know if you talk to Coach Razza or the kids, probably they'll say that we're on to this week. It'll be. I'm anxious to see kind of how they come out at first. Yeah. And the second thing is if they play well in this game, it gives them the momentum back heading into the playoffs. Absolutely. They know if they beat a really good team, then it's like the Williamstown game never happened. You're right back to where you were when you were undefeated, pretty much.
And it's also a game where I'm curious to see how the coaches approach this because I think it's going to come down to how important they feel that division title is because these are two teams that are possibly going to see each other in the playoffs, maybe even a championship game. So I think if you're Jim Razzo, I think one, you don't want to get anybody hurt, and B, for both coaches, do they want to show too much to a team that you're maybe going to see down the road in a couple of weeks?
That's very true. Yeah.
You don't want to give them too much of an idea how you're going to game plan for a game, but we'll see how that plays out. St. Joe, where Hammonton's going to have probably a tough game this week. St. Joe probably not. They go down to Ocean City, right there on the boardwalk.
Ocean City's 2-5 on the season.
Ocean City's 2-5. They're struggling a little bit. A team that rebuilding, not a very deep roster. They do have some players. Their quarterback's Andrew Donahue. He's a pretty good player. He throws the ball a lot. I think one of the big problems Ocean City has had this year is that because they want to throw the ball, when they don't complete passes, they put themselves in a lot of 3-and-out situations where they're kind of leaving their defense out on the field a lot.
And you're stopping the clock a ton every time with the incompletions.
And you don't want to do that against a St. Joe team that really is really starting to click right now. If you're St. Joe, I think, again, we talked about injuries with Hammonton. If you're St. Joe, you really want to avoid injuries in this game. I think what you'll probably see, if I had to guess, St. Joe probably will take control of this game early. If this is a game where it's a runaway at the half,
Coach Sacco will probably get a lot of backups in there.
I would think you'll see pretty much St. Joe's freshman team playing in the second half of this one, which might not be too good for Ocean City either because St. Joe's freshman team is
they've looked good.
It's pretty good.
I don't think that it'll be much of a struggle for them this week down there. Not with the way their offense looks right now. You touched on it just before. 500 yards on the ground last week that's unheard of. They're pretty much doing whatever they want with the ball.
I don't know what the weather's supposed to be like. Sometimes this time of year down Ocean City with the wind coming off the ocean,
it's a little windy.
You get those windy, cold days. It's not going to really matter to St. Joe.
I was going to say that might be even more beneficial to St. Joe because
they don't have to throw in this one, so I don't think they're going to want to. They probably will keep it pretty conservative. A, because they won't need to open it up. B, because they're probably going to be getting scouted by whoever they're going to play in the first round of the playoffs, and they're going to want to maybe not show too much.
Yeah, they'll know that, so they don't have to show everything.
Yeah, a game for Ocean City. Unfortunately for them, just the way their schedule is, they get St. Joe late in the year, when they're probably a little worn down, a little banged up.
And they get probably the best team they're facing. I don't know. Did they play the prep this year?
They lost to the prep earlier.
So they
in the
play
year,
their two best teams, one of them late.
But I mean, for them, for Ocean City, you just kind of hope you survive this one, and then see, wrap their season up before they play Pleasantville on Thanksgiving. But again, we will have predictions in the next segment, but it looks like St. Joe's probably gonna top that 40-point mark again for the fourth week in a row.
As well.
And we'll have our predictions coming up right after this.
Go to Showcase Sports when you're looking for high school sports equipment and apparel, featuring gear with the logos of the Hammonton Blue Devils, St. Joseph Wildcats, and other high school teams.
Maplewood is known for their homemade spaghetti, their comfortable atmosphere and seating with complimentary bread and salad, along with great service to make it feel like home. At Maplewood, you are sure to get that Italian family love. '54 Fitness is the gym that has everything you need. From various workout equipment, treadmills, to many weight machines, 54 Fitness will get you in shape.
Welcome back to High School Football Report, sponsored by Showcase Sports, and now we'll make predictions on these games this week. We'll start with the big one, Hammonton hosting Timber Creek. A game where I think, I think the Blue Devils bounce back this week. I think Timber Creek's a beatable team. They have 2 losses this year. I think Hammonton's going to be able to control clock, maybe make some plays defensively. I look for maybe some interceptions. Malachi Winters maybe pick off a pass this week. I think it's going to be a close game, a high-scoring game. I have Hammonton winning 34-30, and you're smiling at me, so I don't think you agree.
Well, we usually, the last couple of weeks at least, we've been on the same page with Hammonton. I don't think I picked against them all year, actually.
I did early.
You did early. You did against Kingsway in week 1.
Okay. And I looked bad. So.
I'm actually going to pick them to lose this week. I think just some of the stuff we just touched on, that the game doesn't mean like the world to them, and I think that passing attack might give them a little bit of trouble. I have them losing in a close game. I have Timber Creek winning 35-28.
Okay. And then we'll go to St. Joe down Ocean City. I think a game I think we're both going to agree that's going to be probably a one-sided affair with St. Joe winning this one. I think the Wildcats take control of this one early. I look for them maybe to have the starters out by halftime. Probably have the younger kids tack on a couple scores later in the game. I think St. Joe maybe takes it easy a little bit in this one. I think they win this one 42-7 down there on the boardwalk.
That's taking it easy. I said that they were going to win 52-10. I think it's going to be another one of those kind of walkover weeks.
Okay, well, that wraps up another edition of High School Football Report. We'll have our last regular season show next week when we'll recap these 2 games. We'll preview the first round of the playoffs. Looks like Hamilton's going to be a top seed. St. Joe probably at 2. They'll probably both be at home, so we'll have those previews of those games next week on High School Football Report, sponsored by Showcase Sports. Be sure to check it out.
The West End Grill and Bar is a place that promises cold beer, spacious room to sit and enjoy the food, a variety of drink specials, lunch beginning at 11 a.m., and an active bar. You will have a good time at the West End.